Hello, Mr. Andrew Reynolds.
Here we go. Hello.
Hi there, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, it's kind of quiet, so I thought that I start a conversation.
All right.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Johnny McKay, if I say it right.
There you go.
Hi there, guys. How's it going?
We're here trying to learn something new, right?
That's
Oh,
right.
look, there's Tony and Angie.
And Miss Barbara Cock
Hi,
Hello
Cockrell.
there,
Barbara.
folks.
Hey guys,
How's it
well,
going?
welcome to the call, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm Barbara Legrand Cockrell. I am Ron Legrand's sister, one of the mentors, master since 2007, and delighted to be on the call tonight. This is your your monthly Q&A call, which happens on the second Monday of every night, where Gold Club members can join in and ask questions. But I also wanted to make you aware that he is doing a fast track to wealth that's going to be virtual. So that is going to be on on May the 2nd. And you can register for that by going to ronlegrand.com/May. So make note of that. That is virtual. That is his fast track to wealth, which is going to be completely virtual. So I want to open it up now and see who has questions, because that's what you're all on here for. And I want to get those questions answered. So please come into the queue and ask any questions that you want, and we'll take it from there. So Joshua, you're up front and center. What questions do you have?
Oh my goodness, you put me on the spot. Okay, my question is, um, I bought the very basics dreams.
Yes.
Okay. And this is kind of confession time. I kind of fell off the wagon for a while, and I'm come back on again, and I've started making phone call again. I've been like for the past 3 weeks average, I was making phone call whenever I can. I talked to about 5 people almost weekly, 5 people that I speak with. Most of my deals, all my leads are from Zillow. And I was just thinking, like, are you able to just give me a very basic starting point on the I'm trying to find motivated sellers. Like on the Zillow, I call on those that who's been on the market the longest. I go, scroll down to the bottom and call that, that's been on the market a long time. I call those. And I just wonder, just since I pay for the basic dreams, I was just wondering, do you have any guidance and give me just at least to get started on that? Uh, I'd rather find the sellers which are more motivated than
Absolutely. So you mentioned two things. You mentioned Zillow, where you want to find motivated sellers. Well, Zillow is like a big multiple listing service, Joshua. So
correct.
there are going to be people that want to sell, not necessarily people that need to sell. Obviously,
Correct.
someone that's been on Zillow the longest might have more motivation, and sometimes they have motivation, which you might not know if it needs repairs and other factors which we don't know about, where they're just trying to sell on their own. But generally it's people that want to sell and may not absolutely have a need to sell. Now,
Correct.
I have called a lot of Zillow leads on a lot of boot camps for a lot of students in the past, and you can still get deals on Zillow. However, you did mention that you have joined Dreams and you have the subscription, so you certainly want to take advantage of that. Now, as an investor, it's always been that you're looking for motivated sellers that need to sell, not necessarily that just want to sell. So the dream system is very beneficial in that. And you're looking, and so you ask yourself, who has a need to sell? Someone that has inherited a property that is a certainly have a need to sell because they didn't live in the house in the first place, right? They got the house by default, so they would need to sell it. Someone that is behind on payments would need to sell it. So therefore, pre-foreclosures would need to sell, because if they can't continue making the payment, then they're gonna lose their house. So who else might need to sell? A great list from Dreams would be, and I don't know if you can get the expired listings from your basic subscription, but you can upgrade your subscription and get expires. So if you think of an expired listing, it is a listing that they had that they couldn't sell. So if you combine that with a listing that is low equity, all low equity means is that they don't have a lot of equity, which truly means that they probably bought in the last couple of years, or they refinanced in the last couple of years. So they don't have a lot of equity. So if you take a seller that is an expired listing that couldn't sell their house and they have low equity, that is a great lead. That is a great lead. Hold on just a second. I got something coming up on my computer here. Try to expand this. There we go. That's better. And open that up. All right, so an expired listing would be a great lead because they tried to sell but couldn't, and you combine that with a lead that is low equity, meaning that they don't have a lot of equity. So that's an awesome seller to try to get them to sell on terms with just making their payment, and they don't need any money down. They don't have a lot of equity, or maybe just a little bit. And they don't have the money to pay a realtor, or they couldn't lower the price under their current situation if they had it listed because there wasn't enough equity to lower the price. And now, without having to pay a realtor, and then they're going to be a little bit more flexible. So you have a couple choices there. You could go in and buy this house on owner financing, or if it's really tight and there isn't a whole lot in it, but just a little bit of equity on your part, then oftentimes you can talk the seller into just doing a lease option. So lease it from the seller, and then you go find a lease option buyer, because you'll get it for no money down, and you'll have a term that you can, in fact, if they've recently refinanced or they've recently bought, then chances are their payment's going to be, there's not going to be a lot of spread in the payment as if they had the loan for a long time and put a lot of money down. Do you see? So their payments are going to probably be about what it would rent for. So those are the easiest ones to get. You could do a lease option and not even have any closing costs to pay the seller. And then you find a lease option buyer and you get a large non-refundable option deposit. And then if there's a spread to be had, if there is a spread in the monthly payment, you stay in the deal. If you get a long-term lease, maybe you stay in the deal. But if not, then you find a lease option buyer, and then you just assign that lease back to the seller, and you've made a large non-refundable option deposit, and you're done. And it was so easy. And they're very agreeable because they don't have a lot of equity to gain. So that is one list that would be a motivated seller list. You see how that could benefit you?
Yeah, so the low equity is you brought
Okay.
up a point of low equity is a good
Well,
listen.
not
Okay.
just low equity. A low equity list means they just bought in the last few years, generally, or they just refinanced. That doesn't necessarily mean they want to sell, but if you combine it with another
Correct.
list, then their motivation is there. Maybe it's a tax lien, or maybe they're absentee owners and the landlord is tired of renting. They're tired of renting. And so with an absentee owner, then you have a choice of going in and negotiating with that absentee owner to either buy on owner financing, or they're used to renting. So it should be an easy conversation to say, well, you're renting now. If they don't want to sell and they don't want to give up the deed or ownership, then you say, well, what about lease with an option to buy? Therefore, they're used to renting. You can negotiate a long-term lease. They're used to getting little or nothing down, maybe just a security deposit. So you can negotiate nothing down on a lease because you're leasing. And so therefore, and what's another advantage to them? We're going to handle the maintenance and repairs. It's all, everybody's what's in it for me. That's what's in it for them. So, if they had low equity, you can see that. When you're in dreams, you're always looking for lists that have, sorry, my computer's doing something here. Let me know if I fade out or something happens, guys. But anyway, so you're always looking for people that are motivated and have a motivation to sell, and think of it in those terms. And so that's what you're trying to do, is marry these lists together. And it's really good because the subscription offers you AI scoring, where you can find an AI score that has the most motivation. And that's where you want to focus on the leads with the most motivation. So Joshua, does that answer your question?
Yes,
And
yes,
so,
ma'am.
okay, here's another thing. You really want to utilize your dream system. You're going to have to call these people eventually. Obviously, you want to set up your program for your mailers to go out, and then you send them out once, and then you have a sequential mailing, but you want to do a skip trace. You can skip trace these leads for 10 cents a lead. Then you get the phone numbers. You're going to have to talk to them anyway at some point. So you can send the mailers, you can also call them, and maybe you do both. So that is a very low cost way to get phone numbers and get leads. And so you want to do these deal alerts so that they will be emailed to you on a regular basis once you set up your list. So definitely want to utilize that system to get some good quality leads. It's okay to do the Zillow, but you've got this perfect tool right there available for you, and you want to utilize it.
So basically with the dreams, it's like, those criteria are either pre-foreclosure or expired listing or low equity. They're actually not on the market. So I would have to go one more step of like skip tracing or mail out to get their contact phone number to contact them. Not like Zillow, like in Zillow, it's kind of a lazy way. Like you just scroll down, you see the phone number, you call in. When they're not motivated, they just ask you to get lost and you just
That
and
is
some
true.
yeah.
However, they're not motivated. So
Yeah.
as an investor, you're trying to find motivated sellers. It's the way it always has been. Your customer is a motivated seller. So you can call a whole lot of Zillows and they may or may not be interested, but when you narrow it down to lists, then you've got a lot more motivation going for you. And so that's what you really want to focus on, is those
So
motivated lists.
so the dreams, I have one more steps and I have to like skip trace it or do the mailing.
Yes, you want to do the
Okay.
mailing. You want to get your mailers out there, but you can skip trace and call them too, and
Okay.
combine both. It's like this, guys. It's like everything else. It's marketing. When you see when you see an ad on TV, you might see it once, but what if you see it the second time? And then if you see it the third time, doesn't it start playing on your mind? Oh, yeah. And that's the same thing. The seller sees you contacted them, and then they see you're calling them. And so you're going to be on their mind. And then when you talk to them, the key is follow-up. Just like this weekend at Implementation Bootcamp, I had a student that brought a lead in from the February bootcamp. I negotiated with the seller, but the seller wanted too much down at that time. So now it's still available, and we called it back. Now they're more negotiable. So the key is really in the follow-up. And so you want to make sure that you follow up with these sellers. It's like everything else. This is the biggest sell, or the biggest biggest product, I guess, that they're selling is their home. And they may not make that decision right away. And so time and circumstances changes everything. The key to all of this is being there on the follow-up. You just keep going on with that lead until they tell you no, or even if they tell you no, you make a point to follow up. Because, for example, if they're asking top dollar on Zillow and they keep turning all the buyers away, when they finally come to their senses that they know that they're asking more than the house is true. And that's a reality check now, guys. It may be in this market. You may be in a market where it's shifting to be more of a buyer's market. So therefore, the seller hasn't really understood truly if the prices are coming, and they can't sell. So when you follow up, you follow up, and then they have turned everybody away. Now they're going to be interested in selling for less. That's when you can get the deal or get them on terms, because now they're more motivated.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Who else has a question?
Hi, Barbara. This is John McKay in San Diego. I have a
Hey,
question.
John.
I recently put out a contract for a house that was in probate,
Okay.
and the executor who I met with, his siblings are in Oklahoma and Kansas. So I signed an agreement with him, sent it to my title company. I called him back 3 days later when he said that he'd meet with his siblings, only to find out that somebody had already outbid me, and that went nowhere. But my question is this: because it was a probate and there was going to be so many other names being needed to add to signing this agreement, how would you go about doing that to capture all those signatures if necessary?
But you said you already had an agreement with the seller?
I set up an agreement with him, only to find out that I got outbid by somebody else. But still, my question is this: because it was a probate, I want to know what would be the process to capture all those signatures if they're also needed to be signed on the document so that it can close correctly.
Well, that's where you got an executor, but you got an attorney that you're working that case, because then you want to immediately turn it over to attorney because you got to work the probate, right? It's not something that's already in probate, or is it already in probate?
It was already in probate.
Okay, so you should be working with that attorney that's already in probate, and then you'll know the heirs, and then you can contact them all to have them all sign and make sure that you get all the signatures on there.
Okay. Well, I began that process only to find out that somebody else came and gave him a better offer, which he took. So
Okay, and then
I
once
still
you
just wanted to get clarity on the probate thing and the need of signatures and how to capture that if they were needed.
once you do get it, you can offer to buy it out. Like you may be able to get the seller to quit claim it over while you're doing that for some money. And you can just put a cloud on it so that it doesn't get sold out from under you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, just wanted to give some clarity on how to handle that situation. Should it
Yeah,
come up again, and I suspect it will somewhere.
sometimes the sellers just don't honor that, and there's really nothing you can do about it except sue them. And so,
Try right, but
right.
anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. Who else has a question? Hey, Tony. Hey, Angie. How you guys doing?
This is Renee. I have a question.
Oh, hey, Renee.
Hey, Heather and I were in Jacksonville last month and really enjoyed it. We signed up for the Year of Dreams, I believe, and also the VA. And I've spoken with our VA, but struggling to figure out how to use her. So I wanted to find out if there was training somewhere in there on using dreams.
Yes, well, there's definitely training in there on using dreams. If you go to your knowledge base, then there are videos on there for training that you can tap into on every
Okay.
way. And that's kind of like your help section. And there's videos there. As far as utilizing the VA, that's an area that you can call customer services. Well, you have a VA that's assigned to you now, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, ask her what services she provides so that you can tap into those. She is your assistant and does what you ask her to do, but you need to know what is available to you, what services are offered to you. And so you can contact her and let her, and she will let you know what she can do for you. But they can pull lists, they can go into dreams, they can pull the list. And of course, then you want them to make those calls and to fill out the lead sheets for you and then send them to you. That's for sure. And then they can source leads as well. There's a lot of things that they can do for you. They can put ads out there for you. And so
Okay.
you want to utilize them to be getting these leads coming into dreams and getting them from them.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And by the way, Barbara, hi back to you.
Hey. Hey guys, it's good seeing you over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome to see you as well.
Thank
It
you.
was a great weekend, and we came back from the business management boot camp, and it's so fun because we drove from
Ah,
Ohio, so we had a full trip. We slept overnight and left Saturday morning. Pretty much drove the entire day, and really did a lot of goal setting, a lot of debriefing each other, what we got from the event and so forth. And we just came back full and tired, but full as well.
that's
And the last couple of days have just been implementation, taking the things that we learned and seeing how we're going to impact our business with them. So it was a blessing to be there.
That's awesome. That's a great picture of you. You both have such a friendly smile. You look great. I love that picture. That's a
Well,
perfect.
thank you.
It's good. Yes, and implementation is the key. That Ron, I've noticed over the years, one of the things I've admired about him and how he's so successful is he instantly implements. He'll take
Hmm.
something and write it in his calendar. Of course, he delegates and then instantly gets, and there's so much value in that. So the fact that you did write things down and then take steps to implement is so important.
Well, Barbara, I actually went a step further, and
Okay.
this is a little hack, and this may be duplicative for anyone who was in that class with me. I'm not sure if there's anyone who was in there with me, but all the notes I took over the weekend, I took them in Chat GPT,
Okay.
every one of them. And like when Francis Obola was up there and he was showing off the latest AI stuff, I took all those notes in there, and I've trained my Chat GPT to the point now, Barbara, where when I put something in it, it says to me, well, this is a good tool. It does this, and this is how it would apply to your business. Do you want to do it now, or is it something you should do later? It actually asked me those things. So
That's great.
when we came back, um, the stuff we said, give us a 30-minute a day implementation plan of action. So
Okay.
what we do every day, Barbara, is it tells us, hey, you ready for your activities? And it gives us a tight 30 minutes each of things to do for our business. Like right now, while I'm on here, Angie is upstairs and let's see. Yesterday she was programming a bot to put on our websites that would interact with people when they got there. Tonight she's doing deal structuring from one of the leads we have. And so we are dividing and conquering, and then we're using Chat GPT to kind of pace us because it can be overwhelming. There is
Oh, yeah.
so much. Oh my gosh, there's so much, and it's great, and you want to do everything all at once. But taking notes in the Chat GPT and then having Chat GPT spit out an implementation plan for 30 minutes a day has really been helpful for us.
That's great. That's really good information for the rest of the people on the call as well. What other things did it tell you to implement in your
Oh
30
well,
minutes a day?
it's funny. It told me not, there were certain things that said, based on your tech stack, you already have this covered,
Okay.
and so it was good. It was good in that way as well. Um, excuse me. But I mean, even to the point where it said, where Ryan was talking a little bit about, you know, positioning yourself for a acquisitionist and personal assistant and so forth. And one of the things that it told me to do was, for one thing, it was like, you could get an acquisitionist right now. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it until we're getting at least a solid deal a month. And and it said, okay, fine. Once we get you there, I will remind you again that it's time to get an acquisitionist. In the meantime, let's start on working on your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, so that you can offload those to that acquisitionist and personal assistant.
Okay, that's great.
Isn't that insane? It's crazy. It's crazy that you can do this, Barbara.
Yes, it's
It
great.
is crazy. I mean, and we're leaning in with the AI stuff. Obviously, we're going to be in the AI for real estate event this week. Man, it's this week.
That is this.
And but the thing is, again, those guys are going to come to the table and they're going to have a dozen or 2 dozen different AI tools that they find cool that work well for real estate. And again, you could be overwhelmed. So again, if you train Chat GPT to really know your business and to know your goals, then and to know what you have already, they know I have dreams. They understand what dreams is, and so um, when I have these things that are introduced to me, I can go in there and just say, do I need this? And it'll say, in terms of the goals that you have right now, for what you want to have, one of our benchmarks is 4th of July. There's certain things that we want to have in our business by 4th of July. It'll say, you're on track to reach your goals by the 4th of July. You don't need this now, but after the 4th of July, you might look at getting it when these criteria are met. It's
Awesome.
it's amazing.
That is
So
good.
I am so I could talk for an hour about it. So anyway,
It is amazing what you can find on Chat GPT and what information will get back to you.
yeah, I mean, there's lots of AI tools out there. The thing that makes Chat GPT different than most is Chat GPT has a thing called memory, and what that means is that it doesn't just take the current conversation and give you answers based on that, but it remembers, and you can, like I said, program it to get to know your business, and it knows our business. One of the things that had us do is, I'll tell you, real tangible. This is great. Ryan was talking about private lending, right? And he's talking about how you got to do it in a certain way to stay out of trouble and so forth. And I put those notes in the Chat GPT, and I said, you know what? On your private lending site, you need, because it knows what my private lending site is. It says you need a disclosure statement. So right that night, it said I can write one for you. So that night, it wrote me a disclosure statement. I slapped it on my website, and now I'm compliant. I don't have to worry about, you know, going afoul of the SEC with my private lending site. So it's that kind of stuff. I mean, it's amazing.
It is amazing. I've been delving into that a bit too with natural health questions. And so it's amazing what you can find on Chat GPT and what it knows that I wouldn't think that it would know.
There it is. Well, yeah, we use it for a lot of personal applications as well. I'm not going to bore everyone with the personal applications. Suffice to say that one of the things I had to do when I got home was get on my scale, and my scale has an app on it, right? And because we didn't do anything, we didn't work out at all last week. I'll be very transparent. We just enjoyed the food of Florida, and so when I got back, I had to get on the scale yesterday. Today's Monday. No, this morning, I got on the scale, and it showed me. It said, "Okay." It knew I was in boot camp, and it literally said, "Yeah, because you're in boot camp, you had a good week. You enjoyed yourself. You had fun. It's time to get back on track. You're still good for your end of year goals, but you gotta." And it gave me these steps to do. Drink the water, eat the right food, do this exercise, and laid it out to get back on track because it said, "Yeah, you went backwards a little bit, but that was to be expected with you taking some time off."
Right. Very motivating. It's
Oh
like
yeah,
having
totally
a friend,
motivated.
yeah, an advisor.
That's right. Yeah. So every week I upload my a screenshot of my scale results, and it speaks to me, talks to me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good information. Thanks for sharing that, Tony.
You're
Yes.
welcome. Hopefully it blesses someone, it helps someone else out, and just tells them to get off. Get into it. Just start learning about it because it's where our business is going. I mean,
Right.
Francis said something at the boot camp. He says, AI is not going to take your business, but but someone who uses AI is going to take your business. So there it is.
Yes, that's true.
Hey, Tony, you know what? It sounds like you're going to need to do a class on this for the group. So start making those notes for your KBT. We'll see you at the new boot camp.
Do you remember the guy by the name of Zig Ziglar used to speak?
Yes.
Yes.
He used to always say this thing. He says, I approach this thing with an open mouth. So,
Sure. Your
so
new best friend.
that's right. So I'm happy to serve any way I can to Planet Ron for sure. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Tony.
You're welcome.
You guys are growing a lot. You're getting out there and good deals.
Yes, ma'am, we are.
With this dreams and chat, there's no way we can't find deals anymore.
That's right.
That's true.
Especially in that dreams. Just as a comment, when I started looking into this, there's so much you can find in there looking through all of those different houses that pop up because it gives you so much other information other than the house and the particulars of the house. You can also see in there persons who buy a lot of houses, which can then you approach them, might become your private lenders because they've
Exactly.
got a quantity of properties, so they've got a boatload of cash. And sure, they wouldn't mind being able to make a little money on just their money rather than sharing houses or such or interacting in that regard. We do so. Another option there to keep in mind.
Absolutely. And I'm sure they know a good attorney to use too.
I'm sure they've got a handful of the best ones. So just FYI out there for the group that look into your dreams and all the other information you can pull from it and utilize all of that. And you can start finding buyers. You can start making your list just from the information you can pull from the Dreams website itself. And then use that to then pour over to pull something from Zillow or from any other places because you'll have more access. And if you attach also to that the app Lead Flow that you can use through your phone, you can find so much other on your phone while you're out driving around. You can make instant contact with the person because the information pulls up and you can get a skip trace and everything on the spot. So it saves time in that regard if you're out and about and you don't want to pass up an opportunity if you see something or there's a person in the front yard, there's a contact that you didn't have, but now you do, and you can enter that to Lead Flow. It attaches to your dreams. So then you can go back to your CRM when you get home and go through all of that and set it up.
That's great information. Thank you for sharing that, Johnny.
You're welcome. Along with Tony, I'm getting into the AI aspect of this as well as I can. And these are things that I find, and I'm just want to share with everybody else out there these little nuances that may not be so upfront, but they're there if you just look at it in a different way.
That's exactly right. Thank you for sharing that. And that's what we're doing. And with an open mind and keeping up with the technology, learn something new. There's always new tools out there all the time to help us.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, if I may circle back to what Renee was asking you earlier, you mentioned that there's some training video for dreams. How do I find those or who can I reach out to find those videos?
Well, you go right into your dreams program and go to where it says knowledge base. That's your
Oh,
help center. And videos are in there. Questions are in there.
oh, okay, it's right there. Okay.
That's right there.
Okay, thank you.
Now, also, if you look at dreams on the lower bottom left corner at the very bottom, you'll see their phone number contact too. So you can speak to somebody as well. If you can't pull enough information from the knowledge base and watching the videos, they have a phone number down there that you can schedule an appointment and get extra training or ask questions from somebody who can tell you or at least direct you what videos more so would be appropriate for what you're looking to do.
Okay.
So that's
Thank
there
you.
as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So is my video okay? And my internet, it kept saying that my internet was running a little sketchy. Is it okay now?
It
Yes.
seems to be working fine.
Okay, awesome.
Now, I guess I'll go a little further if nobody has anything. I just another means
Here,
of assistance for those of you and anybody else who might be wanting to learn how to be able to speak well or improve their manner of speaking and all of that. I just want to share a video or a person who does videos. His name is Vin Jiang. I know some of you may be aware of him, but you can look on YouTube to find this young man. He has a variety of videos and trainings and different nuances and techniques that you can practice to become, to be able to speak and verbalize much better using mannerisms and correcting your voice, improving the sound of your voice, and something you might want to look into to help you out because we're going to do an awful lot of talking with an awful lot of people. And well, we want to be sounding like we know something when we get on the phone. So you might want to check into that. His name is Vin Jiang. His first name is Vinh. Last name is Giang. And it might be helpful. And he has an array of videos and different topics and exercises and different things that a person can do to improve the quality of their voice, knowing how to say something, how to breathe, how to vocalize. And as Ron says, record your voice and then listen to yourself back and see where you're doing the and and remove all of that. And then watch yourself, turn the sound off and see what you look like on the video. And he has those same exercises and he goes a few steps further. So something that you all might want to try.
That's great. Great information. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I certainly had to practice in the beginning. In the very beginning, I was skeptical to ask, well, we usually buy with nothing down, okay? And that didn't come out very well at all. So I had to keep practicing that till when I said it, I knew the tone of my voice was going to come out right. And so I kept thinking in my mind, I kept saying over and over, Mufasa, Mufasa, Mufasa of the Lion King, make it powerful, not weak and wimpy.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept practicing that sentence over and over till when I knew it came out of my mouth. We usually buy with nothing down, okay? So that it's powerful and it's assertive and it's strong and it's not wimpy. And so you guys want to practice that and that'll help you a lot. And so practice is good. That's why Ron says to practice, make those 25 to 30 practice calls minimum. And no excuses, no exception, record them, play them back so you can hear yourself because you don't realize what you do until you hear yourself. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that, Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody else have any questions, want to join in? There's a lot of participants, but not many of you are joining in to ask questions or make comments. How about you, Andrew? Did you have a question?
Yeah, did you get my property information sheet?
No, sir, didn't. I didn't get any property information sheets, but if you want to
Oh.
tell me, we can go over it.
Sent one in about noon today. I met you probably over 10 years ago at one of the quick start classes.
Okay.
Sat next to you. Yeah, you might not remember me, but I've been around a long time, and I did get a pretty nice little house here that I was just wanting to get some opinions on what I should do with it.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. I didn't get your sheet, but you can tell me the information. Where are you from?
Okay, Tyler, Texas.
Tyler, Texas?
And Tyler, it's East Texas, east of Dallas.
Okay.
I've been following Ron and we're probably 25 years. So I've done a house or two in the process, and I just thought I'd participate tonight and see if I could get some different ideas. Been kind of lazy.
Always get ideas. There's always something new to learn. Always some tip to pick up on. Always something we forgot. Always reinforcement. So it's good to keep.
Been to the quick start thing a half a dozen times. And anyway, the house is 2,734 square feet. It's absolutely beautiful. 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Got a swimming pool that's absolutely beautiful. Great neighborhood. He's willing to sell it for $475,000, and he is not. He's willing to do some. I don't call it owner finance, but payments for the money. He doesn't need the money. His wife died. I use a inherited letter list, that comes out every month, and his wife died, and he does not need the money. He's going to downsize, and I've got a realtor friend of mine that did some CMAs on it, and it comes out to about $580,000 on the CMAs. So there's $100,000 there, and he is willing to take payments on it. I just thought I'd see if there's any. It needs absolutely no work. Thought I'd see if there's any ideas or things that I'm not aware of that how I could get this house sold. I'd love to move into it myself, actually. It's
Well,
that
have you got
nice.
it bought first? Do you have it
I'm
under
sorry?
contract? You have it under contract?
Yes.
Oh, you have it under contract.
Well, an agreement, I told him, give me 30 days and see if I can find a buyer,
Well, an
Yeah.
agreement is a contract. You have a purchase and sale agreement.
Not at the moment, but I could get it tomorrow.
Well, why don't you get it tomorrow?
Well, I want to see what I can do with it first.
Why? Because you can't sell it without a contract. You're acting as a realtor without a license. You got to have a vested interest in it. And then when you get it under contract, it's under contract and you got it tied up. So
Could
what
get
is
that
your
in the morning.
hesitation or what is your fear? What's stopping you from getting it under contract?
Nothing.
Okay, let's do it tomorrow then.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, so then what terms is he willing to do? How much are his payments?
He has no payments. It's
Okay,
paid
so
for.
free and clear. So did you ask him what would he accept monthly on payments?
Have not done that.
Okay, that's what we got to do. So now we got to take you from this phase where you're at into execution mode and getting it done and making it happen. So you got to talk to him and you have to go through the script. You got the scripts, right? Closing call
Yeah.
scripts.
Yes.
Okay. You haven't asked him about terms?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Is he interested in doing that?
I haven't got specific with him.
Okay. So you haven't asked him. You haven't really, you kind of just beat around the bush, but you haven't gotten specific with those terms questions, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, you got to do that. Are you afraid or what's stopping you?
Oh, no, he's not in any hurry. And I'm going, after you do a few of these, you don't want to push people. You understand. He's got to find another place. He's not in a hurry at all.
Okay. Well, here's what I learned. When you get your mindset changed to where you're helping somebody and you don't feel like you're pushing them and you're doing them a favor, let's get this done, let's get this executed, then it changes everything. See, now you're still in a mode where you feel like you're selling them into something instead of helping him. And you got to change that mindset. But tomorrow somebody else could come along, making him an offer and get it under contract, and you're lost, you're done. Just like someone, I think it was Johnny, was saying that he lost a probate deal because the seller got a better offer. So you need to take action now and you need to get this done. And you need to, in my mind, just my intuition says that you're a little hesitant or not sure what to say or a little scared to go through this process to get the terms question answered and get it executed. Or maybe you're uncomfortable because there's something stopping you. Otherwise, we just do it. So the seller is not in a hurry to sell, and you don't have to make him be in a hurry to sell. You can turn it around to his advantage. So, well, Mr. Seller, we can close in 30 days, or if you need more time to find another, that's fine too. We can go ahead and close and you can stay in the house until you're ready to move. And we just won't make those payments to you. You can give them that option, but what's that do? I mean, it gives you the option too, that you could put 30 days in there to close, giving you more time to look for your buyer and so on. So you always want to turn it around to where it looks like it's their advantage, but it's to your advantage too. But you got to get this under contract. You don't have anything until you have it under contract and you have it signed by the seller. So you just need some boldness there, Andrew, to get this negotiated and make it happen before you lose it. And I think we just need to go through what you need to say. So on terms, there's these 4 elements. Obviously, there's price. We've covered that. If you're saying he's asking $475 and he'll sell it for that, and you've done the ARV and it's $585, then hey, that's a good price. And so now you want to confirm, because you're thinking the seller's okay selling it for terms, but you haven't asked those questions, so you haven't really confirmed it. So let's go back. We got the price conquered. Now we're going to go in there and say you're going to use your script. And I don't know how far you've gotten with the seller, what you've said, but it's really simple. That lead property information sheet, you start with that, and that's where you start the negotiation. So we'll just start from the very beginning here. So on this lead property information sheet, you guys know what that is. Right here in this section B, right here.
Yes.
All right, so let's start with that. That's what the VA is going to ask. So Mr. Seller, will call him John. John, there's a couple ways we can buy. And I'm going to read right here from this. I want you guys to follow along with me because it's right here, right in front of you. There's a couple ways we can buy, and I'll read it. We can either pay cash or make your payments until you're paid off in the future. The cash price would be considerably less than the terms price. And I usually don't read from the script, but I want to read it word for word so you guys know. But if you don't have to get all your cash now. There's a lot of advantages to us making a monthly payment to you until we get you paid off in the future. Now, you wanted to not say terms. Ron has terms in there. You can spell it out in third grade language. So I don't know if you've already asked him for terms, but this is where you're going to ask him for terms. So would you like for me to go over for all of your options for the best deal? Or do you have to have all your cash at closing? So you're going to find out right now, because we're going to have that discussion. We're going to get these questions answered and we're going to get to the bottom of it. Okay. And so then he's going to say yes. And then you're going to immediately go to this closing call script that Ron's laid out for you. Remember the closing call script, guys? Closing call script.
Yeah, I've got it.
All right. So now this is where you're going to give him the advantages, like everything else. He wants to know what's in it for him. So John, we can close quickly. And we can, and I'm going to point you guys back to this because you want to get familiar with the script. We can close quickly, or if you need more time to move out, that's not a problem either. In fact, we can go ahead and close. And if you need time to find another place, and you can just stay in the house for a month or two or whatever, and we won't make the payment until you're out. So that'll work. We want it to be a win-win situation for you. But Andrew, I'm saying to you, you want to get this under contract and get it lined up right now. And so you're taking that away from the seller. No more worrying about having to find another place to live, because you could put on there 30 days to close or 60 days to close, whatever. So you turn it around to his advantage. So then back to the script. So we pay full price and you're not required to be out of the house when we close. And to some people that's important because they need some time to move out. That's basically what I just said, right? So we close everything with an attorney when you're ready, and we pay the attorney closing costs. Now, I always say we pay the attorney closing costs. I don't volunteer to pay all the closing costs till I know what the deal looks like. If I'm going to get in there and I'm going to give the seller no money down, then yeah, I can pay all the closing costs because he's not getting anything. But if he's going to end up getting money down, then he's going to pay part of the closing costs. But when I say we pay the attorney closing costs, that means that on the contract, I'm checking the box that says I'm paying the attorney costs, because yes, I am, because I'm going to control what attorney is being used. And that fee is like about $500, and you always want to do that. So back to the script, we'll take it as is. Well, then you already know that it doesn't need repairs. You already know that it's in great shape and it doesn't need anything. So we'll take it as is, which means that no home inspector or appraiser is going to come out and pick it apart and ask you to fix something. And that's important because sometimes buyers they get picky and they want you to fix it. None of that with us. We'll take it as is. And then what else does your script say? So you can leave furniture behind if you don't want to move it. You just take what you want and leave the rest. And there's no realtor's commission to pay. We want to buy your house, not list it. That'll save you thousands. And then back to the script. I don't say I don't want to steal your house. That's just not me. That thought wouldn't come into my mind, and I don't want to plant that thought in my seller's mind that I'm trying to steal their house. So I say, I can assure you no investor will pay more. Right from the script, guys. I'm reading it right from the script. That's what you guys need to get familiar with here. All right. So, and I can pay, what I can pay is likely more than you'll net if you sell with the realtor, pay some closing costs and payments while waiting, and any repairs that may need to pass a home inspection, which all buyers will want, but none of that with us. So then you're getting down to the nitty gritty here. So is that something you'd consider? And you want to make sure that you have told them that we're going to make a monthly payment to you until such time in the future as we get you paid off in full. And they go, well, how much are you going to pay? Well, it's free and clear. What's the least you take monthly on a monthly payment? Ask the question. I think, Andrew, secretly you're afraid to ask the question, and I see you grinning. So yeah, we got to get over that. We were just talking about that Mufasa thing of, saying no money down. You got to ask the question. Until you ask the question, till you get through it, till you get it under contract, you really have nothing but an assumption. So we've covered the payment, and we've asked them, what would you take? Meanwhile, you're looking at Zillow just as a rent zestimate, get an idea. Doesn't mean that's accurate, but you're kind of glancing at Zillow and thinking, what does Zillow think it'll rent for? Rent to beat or the others. You got a rough ballpark to go on to where you got something to base it on what he says, since it's free and clear. Now, if you had payments, you would know that you just take over the payments, and hopefully they're in the range of realistic, that less than what you could get on at rented to or leased to your lease option buyer. So now we've covered the monthly. Well, it's free and clear. So if it was a mortgage, then I'd say, okay, we have no problem making those payments. How many years do you have left on the loan? See, I don't have to ask them from the beginning their mortgage information, their balance. It's going to naturally flow out when I know they're interested in terms. So how many, if it was, this is free and clear, but in another example, if it wasn't, so how many years do you have left on the loan? He tells me, okay, and what's your balance? Just matter of factly, I ask, and just matter of factly, he'll tell me, right? Not a big deal. So then we know. So in this case, it's free and clear, so he has lots of options. So then you get a payment, and then you say, all right, well, how many years can I make a monthly payment to you till I need to get you paid off in full? Well, I don't know. What do you offer? Well, most sellers want to give me 30 years. Will that work for you? Start with that. No, I can't wait that long. Okay, some sellers want to give me 30 years, some 15, and you let him speak. See what he says first, okay? And then you go from there. And then we're back to the down payment, which many of you are afraid to ask. So then you say, okay, well, all right, so we can cover your payment of whatever. I don't know what his payment would be. I don't know what it would rent for, but whatever he comes back with. Okay, John, then we can cover that monthly payment. Now, does that include your taxes and insurance? How much are your taxes and insurance? Do you have an HOA? You're trying to get the whole big picture there. And and what's your current? Oh, wait, he doesn't have a payment. That's right. So, so whatever payment he comes up with, okay, that's including taxes and insurance, right? You want to clarify that in a free and clear house, that you know what you're, in a free and clear house, you want to make sure that you know what we're talking about, okay? Because that can't be avoided either. So now you're back to, well, John, we usually buy with nothing down, okay? So when I totally shut up until I hear something. Oh, no, I can't do nothing down. Well, if we were to come up with a down payment, what is the least that you could take? I didn't say anything. I'm asking questions. And so that's how, Andrew, you get firm on these terms. So what we normally do, John, is we close with an attorney and we start making those monthly payment to you after we close. But then if the down payment comes up, then you got to just ask. You're not going to know until you ask and you get specific. And if he comes up with, oh, I need 50% down. Well, John, that just will never work for us. We just can't do that. So how close to zero can you get? And then you work it. And so your goal, Andrew, you got to think, what's in it for you? So if you think you could get maybe 10%-ish from your tenant buyer, maybe not, you know that you better be negotiating pretty good to maybe up to 5%-ish. You know, you're thinking if you can get this from your tenant buyer and you got to give the seller some, there's got to be closing costs, there's got to be money in your pocket, there got to be some in escrow. So this is where you really need to focus on trying to get the least amount down that you possibly can, because this is where your profit's going to come from, at least now immediately. Because if you put that tenant buyer in there and they don't, let's say the seller gives you 15 years you're only going to put that tenant buyer in there for 1 or 2 years with a large non-refundable option deposit. Well, what if they do exercise their option? You have to have some spread in the amount, which you got plenty right now, for them to close. But if they don't exercise their option and they walk away, then you've made something because you've got this non-refundable option deposit more than what you gave to the seller in closing, and you've got some money in your pocket. Do you see that? Do you understand that, Andrew?
Yeah, we don't do options in Texas, but yes.
Okay. Yeah. You're in Texas. Okay. So you're not doing a lease option. You could sell it on owner financing. But the point is that you're getting more from your buyer than you're paying to your seller, and you got some money in your pocket. So it's always
I've
what's in it
sold
for you.
sometimes it's 3 times like a car, you know.
So now I'm going to challenge you. There is no reason why you can't wrap this up tomorrow, because you think you got a deal, but you don't know if you have a deal till you go get that contract signed. So I want to encourage you right now, don't wait, don't hesitate, go do it, make it happen tomorrow.
Thank you. I needed that.
Okay, I'm giving you that that kick in the
Everything
butt.
said I've heard before 1,000,000 times, and I just needed a refresher course.
Yep,
Perfect.
yep, because I secretly think that you were afraid to ask those terms questions. Am I right?
It is difficult. I mean, I've done it before, and then it's been a while, and I've gotten lazy. And I needed a motivational talk there. I think you did it. So
So how are you?
encouragement.
Okay, so how would you feel if you didn't do this tomorrow and the next day somebody had a contract? You'd be really remorseful, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, it's happened before. Yeah, it's a terrible feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, but you just say you're so lackadaisical about it, but you'd be thinking, darn, I could have had that. I had that, man. He was willing to do 475 and the ARB's 585. I just let that go right by, and I just didn't take action. So
Yeah, there's $100,000 there. Easy. Yeah.
lot. And so even if he's not willing to do terms with that much spread, you may still be able to talk him down R Ron's Mayo formula. So it tells
Yeah.
me that the seller's motivated enough that you may still be able to get the price down enough if he's not willing to do terms.
That's kind of my thoughts. If I can't get terms that I could work with, then I'll try to get 60 days to market it. And then
No, you're not going to try to get 60 days to market it. You're going to go after it with a contract. You need a
yeah,
contract right now. You
definitely.
can't go get this house without a contract anyway, because you're
Definitely.
acting as
I
a
will
realtor
sign a
without a
contract before I market it. Yeah,
license.
I've already discussed that with him, and that was what I was going to do this week, is get the contract. But I don't feel like he's going to go find somebody, and he could, but I don't think so.
Well, that's your thinking. You don't know what the seller's thinking. And
Exactly.
exactly. And so you'd be surprised how things get bought out right out from under you. So if you
Yeah.
were doing the numbers on that, see, if you did 80% of 585, you're already at 468 and he's asking 475. So you can get him within the realm of your Mayo formula there. But that's not what your goal is. Your goal is to get those terms. You don't want to have to go pay cash for this, because it'd have to be a
Right.
lot less than that. And especially in Texas, prices are dropping. So you're not going to go pay Mayo for this house. And so you got to get them under terms now and strike when the iron's hot.
Got you. Thank you.
Welcome. I don't want to sound like a nag, but I can't encourage you enough to go get this done.
I'll get it under contract tomorrow. Yeah, no problem.
All right, you're going to be thinking about me as you go to sleep, and your conscience is going to be saying, I got to do this. I got to do this.
I'll do it.
All right. Thank you. Who else has a question?
Well, Barbara, this is why we have you here, to get us in shape. So
That's right. I got to get you fired up. Go get her done.
You're definitely Ron's sister.
In some regards. So I've learned from the best.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is the heading of that last closing? Is that closing cost, closing something script?
Yes, it's your script, the script. Well, that was
Uh,
written.
yeah, I'm trying to find it in Ron's folder when we're done.
Yeah, it's definitely there, your closing call script.
Oh, closing call script. Okay.
The script. And then when you say, is that something you consider, then you got to go to the next page, which is your $1 million script. And that's nothing more than those
Yeah,
terms.
that one I have in front of me all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So this is your benefits to them. This is going through and talking about the benefits for them. It's like anything else. You know, you've been to a sales pitch and you've been to anybody trying to sell you anything. They're going to tell you all the benefits before they're going to get to the price, aren't they? And so that's what you want to let them know, what's in it for them, why they would want to do that. And it's important to let them know that you're going to handle the maintenance and repairs, and there's no commissions to pay, and there's nothing to worry about inspections and repairs, and you can walk away. And just like Andrew's buyer or seller, he's another house. Don't let that stop you for getting a contract. Don't let that wait. If he doesn't know if he's going to move in a month or 2 or 3, you get it under contract to close in 30, maybe 60 if it towards your advantage. You shouldn't take that long, but for 60 days to close, giving you more time to find a buyer. But what you're telling him is that don't worry, if you don't have a place lined up immediately, then you can stay in the house. It's win-win, solving sellers' problem solutions. It's saying, I got a solution for you. Let this stop you from let's entering into the contract right now because you don't have another place to live. We want to work with you. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Ron was right. When I started, I didn't say anything. The seller would say, I want all cash. And I'd say, okay. And I'd shut up and get off the phone. And I realized that got me nowhere. It's like, Andrew, here's your wake up call. I realized I did not get the questions asked. I don't have a clue whether he's going to do terms, what he's going to do, because I didn't ask the hard questions. And so now I'm wondering, do I have a deal or do I not have a deal? And so I got tired of that. And so I'm telling you guys, get selfish about it. When I say get selfish about it, you don't want to be wondering. You don't want to be wasting your time. You want to know, is this a deal or is this not a deal? So you can quickly ask them, and no matter what they say, hey, you want to come look at it? Yeah, I want to come look at it. I just got a few questions to ask you first. And no matter what they say, don't you get off that phone until you get those terms questions answered. You will love yourself later. And I'm telling you, if you don't, and you just keep stalling and not hard questions, you will hate yourself because you realize, I don't know if they want to do a deal or not. Don't you just want to know? So get good at asking questions. I'm on a rant tonight. So my point was, when I first started, I would hardly ask anything. I was too afraid. They didn't have mentors when I started. They didn't have VAs, that we had answering machines. I was too afraid to talk to the seller, so all the calls went to my answering machine so I could weed out the nice people. I'm way beyond that. Like, I just want to get on the phone, get her done. Are you in or are you out? But you don't have to be mean about it. You could be nice. You can be your personality, good. But you got to get those questions answered or you beat yourself up.
Hey, Barbara, are you a realtor too?
I am. Hi,
And
Heather.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I remember you from the boot camp.
Good. My accent, I don't think anybody can.
That must be it.
Yes. So, are you still really active in real estate, or would you rather do this part of the real estate?
I do it all, Heather. I'd rather do investing because you get a bigger spread and you got
Yes.
residual from the lease purchase and stuff. And so, but it does make you more motivated to get on the phone because you got a 1 out of 3 chance, 2 out of 3 chance of getting something to happen with the seller. And so it works to its advantage. But as you should all be transaction engineers, you want to take that deal and do the best you can with it. If you can do terms, you certainly do. If it's a junker and it needs fixing up, then that's when you want to get it under contract. Even if you don't want to rehab it, you get it under contract and you wholesale it. And you wholesale it to someone else that does want to rehab it, but you look at every deal and what's in it for me and how can I profit from it? How can I solve the seller's problem and then profit from the deal? So as a realtor, then, you know, when you're talking to them, you always ask this question, by the way, all the time, guys. Well, and they tell you no. Well, here's a writer downer question. What are you going to do with the house if you don't get all cash? If they won't do terms, what are you going to do with the house if you don't get all cash? Well, I'm just going to keep trying to sell it on my own. Or I'm not in a hurry, you know, or yeah, I got to get this sold. I'll probably just list it with the realtor. So if you're a realtor and you know you've exhausted that, oh, lead in. Okay. Do you have a realtor you're working with now? See how that easy that would be? Even if you don't want the listing, you could refer it out to someone else, get a referral fee or someone else in your agency or so on. It's just one more question.
Do you have a dollar amount that would make you give up your realtor's license?
A dollar amount that made me give up my realtor license? I guess I don't
Yes,
understand the
like
question.
like, if you made X amount of dollars off investments, is there a number that would make you say, "I'll retire my realtor's license"?
Well, not for me, because I have a lot of realty business, but it's not about that. You go after your investing business and then it's just another tool. There's tools that you could use and you don't have to take that listing. You don't have to do anything with it. I'm sure you know a lot of other realtors, if you don't want it, then you find out if that may be something they want to do and you give it to another realtor. You can collect a 25% referral fee and be done and not have to do it. So it's not something that I have to give it up for, if you know what I mean. You just have to disclose. So I wouldn't have to give it up. You can just choose whether you want it. Are you a realtor?
Yes.
Okay, so you can choose whether you want to be active or inactive. Whether you want the listing or you don't want the listing. You just, as a realtor, you're supposed to disclose that full conversation.
Immediately?
Conversation. No, I didn't say immediately. I said at meaningful conversation.
Okay.
My thing just said my internet's unstable. That means that if you get to that point, you want to let them know you're a realtor, because you want to be honest that you're a realtor, you have a code of ethics. And so then you would want to let them know. In this case, if you wanted the listing, well, I also want you to know that I am a realtor. And if there's just no chance of you selling on terms, then I'd be happy to talk marketing your house and for top dollar and just lead into that and see where it goes. Or
Okay.
in your case, if you don't want the listing, then you can say, well, listen, I happen to be a licensed, I can have somebody contact you about that and talk to you about getting it sold for top dollar. But you'd follow up. You want to make sure you've exhausted every effort that they're not going to do with you. And that's why you ask that question, what are you going to do with the house if you don't get all cash? And so you know what to do.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
you can make your listing, your license go inactive or not. It's up to you what you want to do with it. Are you active right now as a realtor or not?
Yes. And
Okay.
we also manage I also manage properties.
Okay.
So, and
Property
to do
management
property
meaning?
management in my state, you have to be a realtor unless it's your own properties.
Okay, so then you're managing other people are renting. Okay, I don't know if it's a conflict of interest or not, but you've got a whole list of people that are renting. And so maybe it's not you that asked, but somebody else asked if they might want to sell their house instead of rent it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Your partner ask from another LLC or something. You got a whole list of them to find out. Maybe they're motivated. They're tired of being a landlord. And now's the time they really want to sell. So that's a good source, a possibility. Because even when you're talking to out of town owners and absentee owners, then If they say they don't want to sell, then they may want to lease with an option to buy. So that may be an option for you too, as well.
Okay.
I think well, I don't know if it'd be a conflict of interest in your property management if you tried to buy the house out from under them or not, but your partner could ask under another LLC or something, arm's length transaction.
My person's on this call, Renee Harrington.
Okay. So is she licensed?
She's my broker.
Okay. So my point is that it may be a conflict of interest with your own clients to go after, but I don't know. That's something you have to figure out. I don't know about the property management business since it's your customers you're getting, whether it's a conflict of interest to ask them if they want to sell them because it's your responsibility to find them renters.
Well, they know what we try to let them know what the value of selling it would be.
Okay.
And I think we keep pretty much touch with them enough that we would know if they would be getting tired of it or want to sell it. So I don't
There you
really
go.
think about that part of it. Just with some other courses, that conversation has come up is that it doesn't pay to be a realtor. But I'm not finding that when you actually get in the conversations, that's not what the truth of it is. Everyone is saying, yeah, keep your license. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah. No reason not to have it.
I agree.
You just have to disclose, and you just have to be careful that everything's disclosed and you covered and you made them understand that you're a realtor, you're not taking advantage of them and such, because you have your realtor is you're bound by a code of ethics and integrity, and then they'll look at you as a person of integrity, or they should, because of that.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Barbara,
Yes.
Randy said it here. I got a
Hey.
question for you.
Okay.
Short sales are supposed to be increasing. Don't know if
Yep.
you, okay, so you're in agreement with that. What
Yes.
would you suggest is the best way to source those? And also, how would you go about sourcing probate or inherited properties?
Are you in a boat?
I am not in a boat. I'm in a lounge chair.
Okay, well, I was thinking you're in a boat and I just got sidetracked because I'm so jealous if you're in a boat because I love boats. So let me get back on track and let me try to remember the question here. So
Okay.
you're talking about short sales. How would you go about what was the question? How would you go about
Yeah.
sourcing?
How would you source short sales? What would be your best couple of ways to source leads on short sales?
How to get leads for short sales?
Mm-hmm. How to talk to people that, yeah, how to create leads so you could find out who the people are that would possibly want to do a short sale.
Well, it's kind of like everything else. You just want to be a transaction engineer, and whatever comes along. I don't know that you necessarily want to source them for short sales, seek them out for short sales, but who's it going to be in a short sale? Low equity, right? If you, that could be that low equity list where they owe less than what the house is worth. Wait, they owe more than what the house is worth. So if they're not yet, then they may be a short sale. And so they're heading toward that because they may have bought a few years ago when the market was really high and now it's not so high. And so that's really what a short sale is, meaning that they
Right.
own what the house is worth. And so that's going to be a person with low equity, right? So
Do you have list providers? Like, who would you recommend?
Well, it's been a long time that I've sourced them, but a lot of times it's going to be a pre-foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure, they might be the ones that are about to be in a short sale. I remember I did so many of them back in 2008. I was working 30 short sales at a time. And a lot of them came from the pre-foreclosure list because they owed more than what the house was worth. And so they didn't have many options to sell. And so had to do a short sale with it. And so therefore, usually you're successful the most with getting the best price on the homes that need that need repairs. Because these days the banks want to take about market value, or at least they're going to hold out for market value as long as they can. and not
Mhm.
necessarily take a low value on it until they try to get market value. But when it needs repairs, that's when you can go in there and get a contractor estimate and show that it needs repairs, and they may not want to deal with that. That's your best option to get the best price on short sales. So,
Okay.
so crappy houses. Did I say crappy? Okay. So, houses that need repairs might be a good source. That low equity houses that need repairs that they owe about what they're worth. And so, yeah, you can get lists like that. Probably see what you can find in Dreams. I'd check out the low equity, see how many there are, and kind of marry them with other lists. You can stack the list, maybe the pre-foreclosures and so on. Maybe it's an inheritance that's low equity. So I guess I wouldn't say that I'd necessarily go looking for short sales, because they're not in your best interest, because they're going to be more work, because you're going to have to work with the bank to get them shorted. But if you find them, then you deal with what you got.
Okay.
Now,
Then what kind of list source would you look for probate or inherited?
Well, a probate list,
And
inherited list.
most list providers will have that, or
Yeah, you can find that in your Dreams too, and it's public
Okay.
record. You can find probates in public record. So going
That's
back,
good.
yeah, so going back to Heather's conversation as a realtor, realtors, those would be good to go after if you're a realtor, because a lot of times the bank wants to have the house listed. So even a realtor could get the house under contract and work a short sale with the bank, Heather. But in that case, you'd want arm's length transaction. You wouldn't be the agent and the buyer. It would have to be your partner or someone else, another LLC. So
one other question I had for you, Barbara, was let's say the seller potentially is right on the cusp of being close to a mail offer and it's close to expiring with an agent. Do you ever say, well, wait another 10 days when it goes expired, and then I can do this deal with you and you'll still be able to produce basically the same net results because you're not paying a commission any longer? And I know it's a bad question to a realtor, but does that work?
well, in the case of if you're a realtor, you would never want to say that, because then that would be construed as interfering with another listing. So that would not be something you would say, especially Heather, get that, because then, you'd be interfering. But so you wouldn't say that, but you can ask the seller. If you're not a realtor, then, I mean, you can ask the seller to, or if you are, you want to disclose your realtor. I don't want to interfere with any listing, but if it's expired or you're about at the point where you're ready to drop the listing, hint, hint, you're not telling them to drop the listing, but as an investor, yeah, say, well, if you're open to going ahead and dropping the listing, then I can go ahead and buy it now. But in order for me to buy, you'd have to drop the listing. Or, of course, they know that they would have to pay that realtor commission.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what you want. And that's not how you're going to get the best deal, because you'd have to pay the realtor's commission. And then if they want some money down, that's usually never going to be a good deal for you. Sometimes it could be if they don't want any money down, and you end up paying a little bit on realtor's commission. And so sometimes.
Yeah, no, I was talking about it. If it was close to the expiration date and you're talking directly with the seller.
Yeah,
and so
even if it's not close to the expiration date and you're talking directly to the seller, you can suggest that they drop the listing.
that would take the cooperation of the listing agent, though, right? They'd have to say, okay, I'll drop it.
No, it depends on what's in the listing agreement. If there's a termination clause, if there's a clause that they can get out of it without a penalty, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your goal to undermine anyone. You're just making suggestions. And
True.
if you drop the listing and, well, I don't know if I can, well, you got to read it and see if there's an out and so
Good
on.
point.
Yeah. It's like everything else. Randy, we're asking questions. We're not forcing a seller to do anything. I never force a seller to do anything. I'm just asking questions.
Very good.
I ask a lot of them these days.
Well, speaking of boats, do you have a 48-foot sailboat you want to sell super cheap?
No,
No. Okay.
no, when my husband died, I sold the boat. I had a 20-foot cigarette racing boat. It was his baby. I just had to finish getting it fixed up and then I sold it. I didn't want a racing boat. I just wanted a pleasure boat. So I sold that and now a boat's not something I want to keep up with on my own. So I just have a jet ski and I just jet ski and I could do that on my own or with someone else and whatever. So I just pull my
Sounds
jet
good.
ski out
It's
and
on the water,
jump in
right?
whenever I want.
Yeah. Yep. Being on the water is always good.
It is. I got a cup in there that says it's always better on the water.
I like it. I like it. Okay. Well, thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Hi,
Have a good day.
Barbara.
Hi.
How's your brother? How are you doing?
Hey,
Where's your hat?
how you doing, Harry?
I'm good. Where's your hat? I don't recognize you.
You know, I started wearing a hat today and I thought, well, what's going to go in my black sweater? I didn't have something quick and easy, but I'm starting to like those.
Oh, I think your internet needs a new spark plug.
You should just buy some more hats. And I thought, sure, why not? You know, life's short, you can enjoy it.
I think we're going to see you in June
Okay.
when it gets started up again, the in-person classes.
Quick start.
Well, I mean, I'd like to sit in on another one because it was like drinking through a fire hose. I still
Yeah.
do my wholesaling.
Well, Ron's gonna be here in Jacksonville in June. I'm sorry, in
Yeah.
May. He changed it to May 20th, I think. So you coming to
Oh,
that one?
yeah, I can come to that one
It
easily.
was gonna be in California, but he changed it, so now it's gonna be here in Jacksonville in May.
So you said May 20th?
I think so, whatever that Tuesday is, the Tuesday of that week. I guess I can look
Tell
on my
you now.
phone.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday, May 20th, Tuesday.
Okay,
And
yeah,
that'll be
that's
the
the date.
4-day?
Yep,
Okay.
so come back to
Well,
see us.
what is Isaiah gonna charge my card again?
I have no idea, I don't
Or do
work.
I get to come back for free since I paid the first time?
I think so. Get back with him
All
and he'll
right.
give you all the details on it.
I will. Everybody's great over there. I miss all of you.
Yeah, we miss you too. It was great connecting with you, Harry. Enjoyed the dinner too. That
I
was
showed
fun.
everybody here at Ron's Cars. They loved them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Lucy, right? The red one in the background.
The red one in the background is Lucy and Ricky.
Oh, is that
I was
Fred?
no, that's Lucy. That's a
That's
pink
Lucy.
one.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So we'll see you guys on May 20th. out
Okay,
there.
awesome. Looking forward to it,
Mhm.
Harry.
You got it.
Thanks for jumping in.
Of course.
All right, guys, who else has a question?
Hey, Barbara.
Hey, Pete, how you doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Hey, you have a question.
I
Right
do.
there on on the chat. There's like a question. If you're buying remotely, how do you get the contract signed? Use DocuSign?
Yes. You can use DocuSign or any other method to sign it electronically.
Well, that's not my question. That's someone else's question. But
Okay, so the answer is yes.
that's all I needed.
Okay, don't you have any other questions, Pete?
Yeah, I do have a few, but I don't want to go too far over because it's been an hour and a half. I've been thinking about like the last person we talked to, I just can't see why we can't just have the house, have the property, just take over. I know we can't take over it because it has to be the wrap because Ron doesn't want us to do that.
No, no, Ron does want you to do a wraparound mortgage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But couldn't it just do a lease option?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't. Of course, I don't know if he wants the down payment, so that's But he did say he was willing to take to do a lease option. So I was wondering if we can just try to go that route.
Absolutely. I thought this was when he said he did not want to do terms.
Right, he didn't want us, he didn't want to carry.
So if I-
So a lease option would be different, wouldn't it?
I can't remember without looking back at the notes, but then, so if the seller just doesn't want to doesn't want the loan, and in other words, if the seller does not want to sell because he doesn't want the loan to stay in his name, that's different. But I don't I think he just did not want to do terms at all. But absolutely, if a seller gives you a concern that they don't want to leave the loan in their name, then sure, you want to come back and ask them if they would be willing to do a lease option.
Okay.
I don't think that was the case that because we always ask that. I'm not gonna, if there's any way around it, then I would have asked that question, can we do a lease option? But I think he just didn't want to do terms. He just didn't want, he wanted to get cash, all his cash now. But that's always the second, that's always the second go-to, is to ask for a lease option.
Okay. All right, so my mind's thinking right then.
Yes, you're always thinking, always got to be thinking deals. How can we structure a deal? How can we make it win-win? What else can we do? And that's what you should all be thinking is, what else can I do?
Hey, Barbara, who gets the interest deduction on that wrap? Does it stay with the seller?
When you do a wrap, then you say in the contract, principal on the underlying note will equal on the wrap mortgage will equal the principal and interest on the underlying note. So you want to make it for the same. So you get the advantage of the principal buy down.
Get the advantage principal buy down, but what about the interest deduction on the mortgage?
Well, when you're buying and the deed transfers.
Okay. So the deed transfers, but the mortgage is still staying in their name, right? Because it's a wrap.
Right.
So wouldn't that interest deduction still stay in the name of the mortgagee?
Oh, as far as for tax purposes?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's another advantage for the seller, but a disadvantage then for the buyer.
Advantage for which seller? For the seller?
Well, it's an advantage for the seller because they.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm. I see boats in the background still.
Both.
Yeah, those are actually sailboats. Conopoli Beach.
Yeah. All right.
Kind of like Florida.
Yeah, I love Florida. You gotta love Florida.
I do, but I like Maui better. Sorry.
That's good too.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
Conopoli Beach, Black Rock.
Where is
Maui.
that?
Maui,
Oh,
Hawaii.
oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again.
I've negotiated. I had a couple students in Hawaii, and I noticed they're pretty open to do terms there. So you should really go after it. And negotiate some Zillow leads on terms. And so I guess they have fewer options and would be more motivated there to sell on terms.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for that suggestion.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll look that up.
Okay. Just contact all of them and ask them for terms.
On Zillow and Facebook Marketplace?
Well, I started out because I was negotiating lead for students. Well, at the boot camp, and then they became students. And so I noticed that even the ones they were pulling off of Zillow were motivated to sell on terms. So they're just more motivated there. I guess they have less options and less buyers.
Well, it's harder to get a mortgage too.
True.
Yeah.
So you have better option, well, better likelihood of getting it bought on terms there.
I'm gonna put that suggestion to work.
Absolutely. Gotta ask everybody. So just look up, there can't be that many in Hawaii for sale. So just ask.
Yeah. Okay, will do. Thanks again.
All right.
Hello, Barbara. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Roger.
Hi there. I've been trying to really get the difference between an option and the least option. Least option, I believe I understand pretty well, but what is the options?
Well, Ron will tell you an option is just nothing more than having an option, but he'll tell you just get it under contract. And so once you got it under contract, you got it under contract. If you don't close, you don't close, but you just try to take it and get it closed. So he really prefers you just get a contract on it, even if that means it's a longer period to close.
And that's a big difference.
Well, no, a difference in an option and an option in an actual option agreement is that you just have an option to purchase it. It doesn't really, I mean, specify a closing date and firm and such. It's just an option, but why not get a complete agreement signed where you've got all the terms locked in?
Oh,
Why would you want to deal with an option? Because you got it under contract and you try to get it sold. So you just have a contract.
okay. Okay. I just haven't been able to understand what the difference was.
So I'd say, like I was telling Andrew earlier, don't wait, just go get that contract and then work it. All right, so who else has a question? It's 8:32 and I'll stay on, but I'm waiting to hear from you. Any last questions, guys, before we wrap up the call? Questions?
We must have answered all their questions already, Barbara.
Okay, or I talked your ears off, right?
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening. And by the way, Easter's coming up. So hope you have a blessed holiday and remember what you're thankful for, because this is definitely a time to be thankful. We have so much more where we live than so many others. And so just remember to be thankful. Hope you have a great week and a great holiday. I hope you're blessed. Stay encouraged, keep taking action, go out there and get something done, and just don't be afraid, just make it happen. Even if you make a few mistakes, they can be fixed, but if you don't take action, then you've gotten nothing accomplished. So I just want to encourage you guys, go out and take action. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.
All right, Barbara, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Bye now.
Thanks, Barbara. Take care. Happy
You
Easter.
too. I'm jealous of the water and the boats. See, be grateful.
Yeah. Come to Maui.
Yeah, okay. Bye, guys.